to Travolting, covering Orientation, a Scientology intro film. Enjoy the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. First off, Jeff, do you want to... Should we explain the audience why we're doing this?
Yes.
You can say no. You can say we just wanted to do it.
I mean, we kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
If we claim to be comprehensive, we have to cover this. And I also think it is important context. Because we've talked about Scientology a little bit. Mostly just in the episode on Look Who's Talking with Mary Grace.
Yeah.
Great episode. But we approached it in kind of funny light. And I mean, we'll still be kind of having fun in it today. But, you know, you got to talk about it at some point. And John Travolta does, in fact, appear in this short film, which was shown to, like, people who were considering joining Scientology. I'll just knock out the context corner right away.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of context research on this?
No, I did not, because I have a life. And it generally doesn't involve looking up trivia about Orientation, a Scientology intro film.
First off, how do we find this and watch it, Jeff?
So, Scientology... I'm trying to find the IMDb for this thing. Here it is.
Wait, there's an IMDb for it?
There is. So I'm trying to find out what the name of the host is.
Orientation Scientology.
Norman S. Starkey.
A Scientology information film. Wow. Yeah, you're right. It's in there. 1.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah. This is a film that was made to be shown to
prospective members.
Prospective members of the Scientology organization. Religion, as this movie consistently reminds us. They're required to sign confidentiality agreements before viewing this movie. And I cannot find the name of the host for this thing. Did you happen to catch it?
Say what?
What the name of the host for this was?
I mean, I'm on the IMDb. It's Larry Anderson.
Is that Larry Anderson? Oh, yeah, Larry Anderson, who left the church in 2009. Very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a film where he hosts and kind of just explains what Scientology is and how you can join. It's an intro film. It is for introductory people who might join the religion, the faith.
Yeah.
And all Scientologists must view this film before attending any services. And it's only shown in Scientology facilities. It's not supposed to be screened elsewhere. We did screen it elsewhere. It is available in really poor quality on YouTube.
Yeah.
But it exists. The entire thing. We watched it. Bring it to you, our loving audience. It also feels like going into our movie next week, Battlefield Earth, which you folks were promised Battlefield Earth 2 weeks ago in General's Daughter, but we decided to add a few episodes in the middle here. That seemed like a good time for it. And also to talk about Scientology, so we have a basis going into Battlefield Earth, which is a movie based on an L. Ron Hubbard book, very much about Scientology.
Yeah.
And, you know, we are committed to covering every Travolta project, and this is a Travolta project, as small as the role may be.
I'm just going to sigh a lot.
You're going to sigh a lot?
I mean, I have thoughts.
You have thoughts.
But why don't we get into it first, talk about what they talk about, and then we can get into our overall thoughts?
Yes.
That sounds cool?
Let's make this as painless
First
as
off,
possible.
I'm not going to do a hair ranking for this thing.
No hair ranking?
No.
You can't even see his hair in it.
Barely can see his hair.
It's so low quality.
Yeah. So I wrote down on my notes, first impression from the video.
Yes.
They are very rich.
Yes.
They have a lot of money.
They have a yacht.
They have a yacht for the highest level members.
Yes.
I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the
flagship.
The flagship.
Because it's a ship. Get it?
Yeah, I get it, Jeff.
But I want to talk about how this movie starts. Because it's just...
How many notes do you have? I have half a page.
I have a page.
Okay.
So it starts with the 2001 A Space Odyssey music. Like when they find the monolith. As we're going through an asteroid belt. And it lasts for like 30 seconds. I'm just like, well, okay, what is this? Finally, we escape the asteroid belt and we just see the planet Earth. And then the movie's like, dun, 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 and the words Orientation, a Scientology info film, pop up on the screen.
Yep.
And then we're introduced to our host, Larry Anderson, He's like, let's talk about Scientology. And he lists off all the places. And he brings up the flagship yacht. And he's talking about the Celebrity Center in L.A.
It's like you can find we have a presence everywhere around the world, from our like service centers, our churches, our celebrity palace, our L. Ron Hubbard Museum, our yacht. And I'm like, whoa.
And then right after this, they go into talking about how we are L. Ron Hubbard saw the materialism of this world and started an anti-materialist organization as they talk about it from a yacht. LMAO.
Oh, God. This is full of those hilarious ironies in the information film. Because they talk a lot about, like, if you have an issue with our religion, like, you can come talk to us. We have a justice system. And then at the very end, it's like, you can walk away from this film and not talk about Scientology, but that would be stupid.
Yes.
He literally says that would be stupid.
Yes.
It's like, you can also jump off a bridge. You can also blow your brains out.
Yeah,
these are real things that they say in this information.
Like, the structure of this is basically he goes to a different department of Scientology, talks to them about what they do, what's their involvement in Scientology, and then at the end they try and sell you a book. And that happens like 5 times.
Yeah, they have like a selection of books that are like, if we were looking for some books to read, Sandy, like what would you recommend? And she recommends like 10 books.
Yes. Because like right at this was immediately like such a grift.
Yeah.
Where he's like, Larry Anderson's like, all right, all you have to do to join Scientology is come to a center and buy 10 books. Here are the books you got to get. And he like lists them all off. He's like, you can buy them at any bookstore or online on the brand new internet.
And he's like, hurry up. They sell out real quickly.
Yes. He's like, it was one of the best sellers of all time.
65 million copies since 1950.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it fucking is. It's like it's the most highest selling grossing book of like for as long as it can be.
But they start off by talking about what Scientology is.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a religion.
And they say, it's a religion. And I wrote down, haha, on the quote, we really are a religion, ... quote, bit.
Yeah. So at the beginning, they're like, it's a belief that everything is connected by some sort of soul energy, and Dianetics is the way of unlocking your soul and like discovering your past lives or whatever.
It's like a new take on mental health.
Yes. This video really undersells their beliefs.
Yeah, it does.
It kind of exists to sucker people in. And then
you're not crazy. And we're not crazy.
And then once they're in, they hit them with the aliens and the past lives stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this is just no different from all other religions. It believes you have a soul and that we're all put here for a purpose.
And we have such a community and we all live to serve a better life while we're here.
But clearly, this video is also made to discourage people who have read bad press about the Church of Scientology. Because he's like, it's a church proven by all these, and then there's a 2-minute montage.
It literally is 2 minutes
of court cases being read on the screen of proof that it is a church.
It's like a court of appeals, Tennessee, Scientology really is a religion protected by the First Amendment.
And it's like the Canadian church and the British church,
Supreme Court of Brazil. Like this is very much a religion protected by blah blah blah, and it just goes on and on.
It's like, yeah,
for 2
I'm
minutes.
sure you're a real religion if you have to cite court cases and IRS documentation at me
in like the first like 10 minutes of your video. But then it goes on to like a short little history of L. Ron Hubbard and like where he was writing these books about a different take on mental health and how the government, the U.S. government, wanted him to like work for the government and to keep his findings on Dianetics secret because they were doing mind control experiments, which like, MK Ultra was a thing.
Yes.
Like, we can say that. It was a thing.
But I doubt L. Ron Hubbard had busted it open.
L. Ron Hubbard shared the information with the public and scrutiny of his image and continued to fight for the everyday man.
Because this, like, they're talking about L. Ron Hubbard, and they're like, he was a multi-hyphenate of many forms. They're like, he was an artist, a writer, an actor, a director, a filmmaker. Like, they list every single profession to ever exist. He's a mariner, qualified to sail any ship on any ocean. I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But they've heard him say, like, yeah, he started out writing fiction. He started writing fiction.
He started writing books and screenplays.
And then he got into Dianetics, and I was like, yeah, this is a new take on mental health, and you actually have a soul and a spirit, and it's all connected to Xenu and shit. But they don't mention that in this.
No, movie. They don't mention Xenu.
Yeah. But that's the basic, like, lineup of it.
And then they get into a little bit of Dianetics and then the beginning books for Scientology.
Yes.
And how there's like a short list of all these books you can get, like the Dianetics. What was interesting is like they clearly differentiate that Dianetics is separate from Scientology.
Yes, but it's also all part of the same thing. It's weird.
It is.
Because they also say like no two Scientologies are connected to each other, but they all are.
But they all are.
Yes.
Because different organizations of Scientology.
Yes.
There's like the Church of Scientology, but then there's like a Scientology like class.
Yes. It's very confusing.
It is.
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it didn't really clear the waters for me on this video at all.
Like, not to like pit religions against each other, but most other religions, the barrier for entry is come, here's a free book, like they'll give you a Bible or something, like learn the teachings and join our brotherhood. Like there's like some sort of communal aspect to it.
And here is
and you aren't expected
sacred ritual sacrament to initiation for you.
And you aren't expected to buy in usually.
Well,
they'll charge you. They'll charge you down the line.
I'll argue a little bit against that, but like there is always like some sort of commitment and an initiation profession of faith that you have to make.
Yes.
That say I believe this and this. My past self was sinful or evil or dirty or whatever, and now coming into this church, I am chasing a clean, heavenly, glorified version of what I can become.
Yes.
And that is now the purpose of my life, is to pursue that version of myself. It's said across all religions, and Scientology is no different than that, except that
you have to buy in really hard.
You have to buy in a lot of shit, like 10 books.
And
how
the
much
10
is
classes.
Dianetics right now?
Let's find out what Amazon's charging for it.
What Amazon? First off, I mean, like it's kind of dumb to say like, oh man, if you can buy a religion on Amazon, it's not really a religion, but I know you can buy Bibles and like Qurans and shit. So I can't really say that. But Dianetics
by L. Ron Hubbard.
By L. Ron Hubbard.
It's free on Audible if you get a trial. It's $22.91 for a paperback. It's $32.07 for the hardcover.
Okay, so let's say 30.
The Modern Science of Mental Health.
Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health.
There's also Self-Analysis by L. Ron Hubbard is $20.
An Intro to Scientology.
I can get Dianetics, the original theses, for $20.
And there's also new versions of Dianetics.
Yes, there's multiple versions all available on here, which is nuts.
And then they get into like the different levels and types of Scientology.
Yes.
Like again with like the flagship Scientology yacht that they have.
Okay, so in this movie they claim that there's 65 million copies sold, right?
Yeah.
On the Amazon link, with over 22 million copies sold in 50 languages and used in more, like that's significantly less than what this video claims in modern day.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even going to get into the factual claims that they're making about book sales, much less like overall things. But yeah, they get into the different levels and types of Scientology. Here's what was really interesting. The office of L. Ron Hubbard that they have in all of their facilities in Scientology. That it's like, yeah, like L. Ron Hubbard he went over to all these sort of different places and he wanted to keep Scientology alive. So we always have an office of L. Ron Hubbard and a director of the office of L. Ron Hubbard or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Jeff, can you tell me what auditing is? Because the video did not explain it to me.
Yeah, it doesn't explain what auditing is.
Yeah, and they even say at the beginning, so you might be intrigued and concerned about the idea of auditing. Well, auditing is actually not that strange at all. Proceeding to not explain what auditing is.
See, here's the thing about Scientology. Up to this basic point, right before we get to auditing, like, it makes sense that this is something that people would get into. Like, it just sounds like, like transcendental meditation or something like that people get really like done into and like they believe it helps them, and I'm like, sure, whatever floats your boat. If you want to believe that like you have a reactive mind and like this book can help you control that, whether it does or doesn't, fine. It's when you get into the auditing that it's like, okay,
what is it?
I looked it up. I looked it up while I was saying that. So basically, auditing is the process by which an auditor takes an individual through times in their current or past life with the purpose of ridding the individual of negative influences from past events or behavior. So basically, it's that you just like sit down with an auditor and you keep talking and like analyzing your brain, like going back through all like the bad memories that you have to try and cleanse them from your system, and then discover what the roots of them are, which come from your past lives. And so like auditing is just working your way back to your very original conception, which is your first thetan self. So yeah, like I said, up to this point is when it's like, okay, it's just a mental health craze. Then you get to auditing, and they're like, yeah, they don't mention this video, but they're like, thetans, every human's a thetan, and all past lives are a part of you. And thetans were arrived on Earth due to an extraterrestrial culture named Xenu who dropped us off here. And it's like, whoa.
Wait a minute. Yeah, they just breeze over that in the information film.
They don't mention any of the alien stuff.
No, and they don't mention like the past life thing about auditing either.
And it's like L. Ron Hubbard.
They make it sound like that auditing is like you get to talk to somebody and you get to work through your problems, and it's like a glorified therapy session.
And like L. Ron Hubbard pretty much seems like a guy who like really enjoyed writing science fiction.
Yeah.
And then he also is really into like mental health. And then he's like, what if I just combine them
and made a religion?
Because it seems like he just started like writing, you know, like, oh, this is a way to work on your mental health. It's just to talk about your past trauma and work and like try and clear that negative influence from your mind. Which like, sure, whatever. But then he's like, all right, what if you didn't just work through your trauma? You work through the trauma of your past lives. And your past lives are put there by an alien. And so it's like, oh, dear God.
So, and then it gets even further down the rabbit hole in this video. Like, this video gets weirder and weirder the more it goes on. Because after, like, the processing and auditing section, they talk about the training and the courses that you can do. Which is essentially sort of a lot of the same thing. But the training is very loosely used and what can only be described to me as what I would say is brainwashing.
Yes, that's pretty much what it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds very much like brainwashing, like training in the sense that you're just cleansing your materialistic brain for a more spiritual, soulful lifestyle.
But secretly, that's not what they're actually doing.
It's
indoctrinating you into the church.
Yeah. Then they get into the IRS investigation.
Yes. Very wild turn in this movie.
Yeah, where they talk about like, and yes, like we have been investigated by the IRS, and we know this has been a problem for many people, but the IRS has even said that we have not found any reason that they do not get tax exempt based identification because they are religion.
Yeah, they only put the money towards charitable enterprises, and like, I'm gonna call.
They buy fucking yachts.
Yes, they buy yachts
and mansions, and
then claim that they're part of the organization. Like they need it for these people. It's such a grift.
And then they get to the testimonials. We're getting to the end here.
I want to talk about two scenes prior.
Okay.
Because first I want to say this thing has for the audience at home. You can watch this thing on YouTube. I would not recommend it. It's really not worth 37 minutes of your time.
No, it's not.
It has the aesthetics of like a Disney like ride video from like Florida, where it's like the guy comes down and he's like do 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 do, and he's like, yeah, welcome folks to the haunted mansion. No, but he's just. Yeah.
Welcome to the Church of Scientology, kids.
There's like a really poorly executed joke in this when he goes to the library of Scientology and he's talking with the librarian. And at the beginning, he's like, these books are very popular. And then he goes and talks to her and he's like, you want to tell these people anything about Dianetics in the books? And she's like, they're very popular. And he looks at her and goes, yes, I told them that. It's so awkward.
Oh my gosh.
He also at one point says, the Scientology organization, normally referred to as the org.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, cool. The org.
But there's many orgs.
Yes. But they go into the IRS doc section and then the testimonials. We're getting near the end.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a very short episode?
I might be. I thought I was going to have like a big rant on it, but who knows? I might still have a big rant.
It might still come out?
Might still come out. So... yeah, with a testimonial.
Because like, there's not really much else we can say about what happened prior. It's been Larry's just talking to people. They're like, yeah, auditing. And he's like, here's a book on auditing. You can buy it online.
Yeah. And so then they get to testimonials, and it's just random people. A lot of them famous.
Yes.
A lot of them famous folks. We get a little cameo from Kirstie
Alley from the Look Who's Talking trilogy.
And I love her line.
Yeah, she's like, if it wasn't for Scientology, I'd be dead.
So I recommend it.
Yeah. Whoa.
She says. And then there's like a few other like random folks, some producer directors, some like regular people who aren't like big. I imagine there's celebrities in their field.
Yeah, I like that all of these like a list of professions like doctor, actor,
dentist.
But then at one point it just says mother.
Yeah, there was one who was just mother.
Yeah. It's like what? She doesn't like she's just a mother? Like there's nothing more to this person?
There's nothing more to this person.
Okay.
It sounds like as much work of screenwriting that L. Ron Hubbard did.
Yeah, but Stuart, who do the end on?
And on our boy.
And on John.
On Johnny
he says,
T.
He says, I can't think of a part of my life that
Scientology
Scientology has not
hasn't.
proved. And then that's all. He's just listed as actor.
Yeah.
But that's his whole bit in this.
And then it goes to
Larry Anderson.
Larry
He gives us the
Anderson's-
hard sell.
he gives up. That's when he really delivers it.
Yeah, like he's been like kindly trying to sell us, and at the end he's like giving us the hard sell.
Now he's like, literally, all right, sit down, fuckers. Let me tell you what's going on
He
here.
starts by like trying to Pascal's wager us by being like, worst case scenario, you join it, doesn't exist, you die, and that's black. He's like, but you don't join, it's real. You're gonna experience eternity of darkness.
Yeah. And then I love the bit where he's like, you could walk away from this video and not utter Scientology ever again after that. It'd be a stupid decision, but you could do it.
Yes.
He says that word for word.
But then what else does he say?
And then he says, like, you could jump off a bridge. You could blow your brains out. Or you can continue with Scientology and we would be happy for you. And you would be happy for you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm quoting like what he says in this. And it's just so like, oh,
Gross.
It's icky. Makes
He's
my
pretty much saying like, if you don't join Scientology, you're just not a worthwhile person.
icky in my tum-tum.
Yeah.
Very bad.
And I mean, obviously, there's a lot of shady business about Scientology.
Yes. So
Something that they hide from a lot of the like higher up members just to keep the celebrity involved in it.
I'm going to speak very frankly to our audience here.
Ooh, I know.
I'm an atheist. And I went to I was raised a Catholic in my little small town in Indiana. And I will say, like, when I say the words I was forced to go to church, it was not in like a domestic, like, abuse kind of way. Like, it was more like, as a little kid who hates going to the dentist sort of thing. Like, of course you have to go to the dentist, but your kid might throw a tantrum on the way. The same thing for me, but with church. Like, I was made to go to church like every Sunday. And then from first grade through eighth grade, I was put into Catholic school, and I had to go to church Monday, Wednesday, Friday at school as well. So I went to church like 4 times a week, basically. Yeah. And I went out of that, went to high school, started getting a little bit separate from the Catholic Church, sort of more like then identified as like Christian. Like, I wouldn't tell people I was Catholic. I'd be like, oh, I'm a Christian or whatever. Then I got to college, slowly moved from Christian to spiritual. Like, oh, I may not be religious, but I'm spiritual. And then later on, it became from spiritual to I'm more agnostic.
Yeah.
Till eventually now I just kind of full-blown say that I'm an atheist. And folks, listeners at home, this might feel very familiar with your kind of life too. This is often, when I explain this to other people, like, it's a very similar path that a lot of folks who are attempted to be indoctrinated as kids at a very young age and how they sort of fare out. I can't remember which comedian makes this joke, but there's a comedian who jokes about, like, who all the kids are who went to Catholic school are because they're all atheists now. And like, when I watch the Scientology video, it feels very much like kind of that same like pandering, like, you'll be a good person if you join our crew. And if you don't join our crew, that means you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And there are some people who...
It's gross.
It's very gross. And there are some folks out there who may not have like the strength and will to know the difference between their worth because someone told them their worth versus their knowledge of their own worth. And I think that's what angers me most about religions such as Scientology, is that they take people of...
The ones that are less concerned about actual like enlightenment or just like helping people.
Yeah.
And more about just building their own.
Yes.
Like
building
caucus.
the numbers.
Yes.
And
raking in the money that the IRS says is being used
for charitable reasons.
Charitable reasons.
And so I guess, why did I go on that whole rant about being religious and then being atheist? It's because, like, watching this film, like, I'm sure, like, I actually, you said something interesting, which is like, it's not worth your time to watch this film. I actually would argue that I hope people watch this.
Yeah.
I do want people, and of all backgrounds, to watch this. I want everybody to see, like, sort of the most... Because Scientology, what's interesting about it is how young it is.
Yeah.
We can talk about Mormonism, and like Mormonism is pretty young, but that's still like 1800s. Like they got a century.
This is like less than 70 years old.
This is like a young religion, and they are very like juiced up on the fundamental juices that run through a very brand new newborn religion. You know, it's like Twilight with a vampire, right? Mm-hmm. You know, when they say like when Bella becomes a vampire, she has like hyper strength, like stronger than most vampires because she's a fresh human. Yeah. Like that turned vampire. So she has all that human blood still in her that's like in her veins and she's like hyper aware. It's kind of how I feel about Scientology. Yeah. That it's like it started off with this idea that got bit by the infection known as religion. And now it's all like hyped up on its fresh new ideologies, and it's like we're the best. Let's go. And it's like just off to the races with its like getting followers, getting money, spreading the word, downing the negatives, and like all this stuff, and be like we're great. Stop saying that. We're amazing. And like I feel like older religions, particularly with like Judaism or Christianity, who have been around,
all the Judaic, Abrahamic religions,
have been around long enough, have been scrutinized long enough, have been through the trials long enough that it's like, I at least have the respect for when they say, hey, if it's not for you, it's not for you. If it's not, it's not. It's whatever. Mm-hmm. It's fine. It's okay. You don't agree with our belief? Fine. A lot of people don't. And I kind of respect that maturity. Yeah. And I feel like many folks in that sect sort of have. Like if you talk to like a Christian, like I've spoken to many believers and I'll have like debates with people. And, you know, at the end of the day, like sometimes it gets heated, but a lot of times it's like, hey, like that's just my faith, man. And I get it's not for you. And you're like, okay, that's fine with me. I get it. It's for you and not for me. And that's usually how it parts ways. And then I watched this Scientology video and it's all just like, if you're not with me,
you're my enemy.
You're my enemy. Like you get a lot of those vibes from this sort of organization. And so, that's sort of my whole little rant spiel I needed to go on about this was watching it. It's like, just want to reach into the screen and grab and be like, there's a world out there, man.
I mean, the most damning thing about this is that Larry Anderson left the church 13 years after it came out.
Yeah, but it still has like, I'm not going to say the suckers because that might be offensive, but like, no, I'll say it. It still has the suckers. Yeah. It still has the people who are like just holding their hands up to their ears and closing their eyes and be like, no, it's my religion. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it does all good things for me. And I'm like, just like, it's fine if it's your religion, but just like
know the broader context.
Know the broader context behind it. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I could keep going on and on about this. I guess like one, you know, like,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I was going to say, like, you know, there are still, like, some fundamental Christians who believe, like, Jesus rose after 3 days and that if you literally eat the flesh and blood that you'll be clean or whatever, you know, all that good stuff. But I think in the broader context, if you actually ask somebody that question, they'll be like, well, it's kind of all metaphorical and symbolic. And the deeper meaning is be kind to others, even if they're not kind to you. And, like, just treat people like they have intrinsic value, that everyone's a child of God, and so you should treat everybody like they're worth such, which has a value to it. I mean, you may not, you know, even if you're an atheist, like you can see that, oh, I can see why somebody would find that valuable. Yes. But like,
for a lot of people, religion has an important place.
Yeah, but without the bullshit of like,
we need to make money.
We need to make money, and you need to believe aliens are real. Yes. That's the big thing. Yeah. That's the big thing for me, is that if you can parse through all the bullshit and find the fundamental deeper meaning.
It's like, we want your money. Then we're going to tell you that aliens want your money. Right.
Yeah. So.
And that's why it was important to talk about this movie going into Battlefield Earth, because like we just want to set the context for who L. Ron Hubbard was and what Scientology is. So next week when we're talking about Battlefield Earth in the context of how it got made. Yeah. You folks, for anyone who's not too familiar with the Church of Scientology, kind of understands where it's coming from. Yeah. So we don't have to recap it next week.
Yeah. Are we not going to comment that last week we read a book?
We did read a book last week, and it was good. It was a great time.
It was a good time, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, you folks were promised Battlefield Earth like 2 weeks ago, and it is actually coming next week.
Right after General's Daughter, you got a book reading. Then the week after that, you got the Scientology information film. Next week, we promise
Battlefield Earth is coming.
Battlefield Earth.
And then you get a string of hits. Yeah.
All right. I'm all out of thoughts.
This doesn't impact Travolta's career in any way. It doesn't have box office.
Because it doesn't exist.
There's no Rotten Tomatoes score for this. There are 23 Letterboxd reviews of it. They're all like half a star. I'm one of them.
But did you review it at all, or did you just give a rating?
Let me check what I did. I give everything a review on Letterboxd.
Okay, well, good for you, you purist.
I gave it. This whole thing is various segments of people trying to convince you to buy multiple books.
Oh, man.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Orientation, a Scientology informational film.
We just crossed the 30-minute mark.
Yeah,
about the length of this
That seems like
film.
a crisp 30 minutes to set this context up for next week.
I agree.
Anyway, folks, thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. As a reminder, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Yeah. I'm trying to find the rest of this list. I do this every week.
I can't believe you still have to read off a script for how often you
Find
do
us at Travolting Pod on Twitter or Instagram for updates and fun stuff. Pop into our Reddit, r/Travolting. Email any comments or questions to travoltingpodcast@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter at Jeff W. Sweeney.
And you can find me on Instagram at Stuart_95. Stay off the fuck my Instagram, Scientologist.
Special thanks to Rebecca Johnson for our graphic design and Michael Van Bodegum Smith for our theme music.
All right. And folks, if you listen to this and you decide you have two options, you can walk away and never utter the name of Travolting Podcast ever again. And
you could also walk off a bridge.
And that would be very stupid.
Yeah.
You could also walk off a bridge. You could also blow your brains out.
That would be stupid as well.
But that would also be very stupid.
Continue listening to Travolting.
Or you can walk away from this episode and continue listening to Travolting and reach a higher plane of existence.
Yes.
Where you can search for the true meaning of your soul and how it impacts the universe and ripples out and creates a better world and life for all living things and organisms to come.
Yes, create some ripple effects and learn about John Travolta.
Amen.
Amen. Have a great week.